Commander, today we're taking a trip to the darker side of the multiverse. These are the ones who made the deals they probably shouldn't have, and they've got the curses to prove it. The Accursed team is here, and whether they are twisted by magic, madness, or Mephisto himself, they've united for one purpose: to dominate Cosmic Crucible with unholy synergy. This is a squad built to grind down the enemy. They're a team of unrelenting pressure, not a quick burst squad, and one that slowly crushes the life out of opponents whilst feeding off their pain. So if you're looking for a team that drains the light out of your opponent's Crucible plans, this is it. Let's break down the Damned 5, their roles, synergies, and what you need to know to get the most out of this hellish roster. Now, I'll be honest, I waited a bit to make this video. At first, I wasn't sure if this team would be seeing some reworks. A lot of the early feedback from several of the top content creators and people in the community suggested some rough edges about this team, but after seeing how well they perform, as long as you've got the stars to back them up, I feel confident in saying that this team is here to stay, and they're better than they first appeared. Let's start off with...
Don't you know who I am? I'm the Juggernaut, bitch!
Juggernaut's basic overwhelming blow attacks the primary target for 250% damage. He gains +1 charge up to a maximum of 4 and will generate 1 ability energy for himself. When this character performs an ISO 8 attack, counter attack, or an assist, the attack does no additional effects besides damage, and this attack cannot be blocked. Now the T4 on this one I have down as a nice to have, because what it does, it adds an additional 40% damage, making that 290% damage. But the big one is in Crucible. If this character has 3 or more Accursed allies and has ability block, it is going to fill his speed bar by 100%. A very, very nice to have T4 there. This brings us on to his ISO 8, where you see the fact that the only thing his attack will do is damage if he does an ISO 8 attack, a counter attack, or an assist. So it kind of puts Striker off the board for Juggernaut. Next up, we have his special, the Immovable Object. This is going to be a turn 1 ability for you, but it does come with a 7-turn cooldown. Now, obviously, you can bring that down by using his basic there, because that is going to generate ability energy for himself, plus the ability energy he gets on turn. He's going to gain Taunt for 2 turns, Defense up for 2 turns, Immunity for 1 turn, Death Proof, and 2 regeneration. It's going to heal self and all Accursed allies for 20% of this character's max health. The T4 on this one, which I have put as a high value T4, is going to gain 2 regeneration for 2 turns. And in Crucible, if this character has 3 or more Accursed allies, it is going to reduce the duration of all negative effects on self by 1 and heal himself for 10% of this character's max health for each negative effect that expires. So a very, very high value T4 there for Juggernaut. Next up, we have Crushing Charge. This is his ultimate, and this one isn't available on turn 1, but will be available on turn 2. Attack the primary and adjacent targets for 320% damage. This attack gains an additional 80% damage per charged on this character. Characters killed by this attack cannot be revived, so this is a permakill. This attack cannot be blocked. The T4 on this is going to add an additional 60% damage to the primary and adjacent targets. So that will put you at 380% to start off with, plus the 80% per charge that he has. And it will gain plus 100% drain. So he will heal himself basically for the damage that he does. Again, this is a very high value T4, in my honest opinion. And then we have his passive, I'm the Juggernaut. On spawn, clear all but one charged on self. If any charged were cleared, fill speed bar by 40%. On spawn, if this character has 3 or more accursed allies, he's going to gain taunt. And on turn, he's going to gain +1 charged up to a maximum of 4. On attacked, if this character has a Magneto or Hellverine ally, he's going to fill his speed bar by 20% for himself and all protector allies, which comes in quite nice when you pair this team up with Mephisto, but there are some problems with pairing him up with Mephisto. When an accursed ally drops below 50% health, you're going to clear 3 negative effects on himself, and if this character's health is above 50%, he will gain taunt. Increasable the first time any enemy uses their ultimate ability. If this character does not have 2 or more exhausted, he is going to clear 1 exhausted from self and all accursed allies. He's going to clear 5 negative effects from self and all accursed allies, and this can only trigger once per crucible. While this character has charged, he cannot gain stun, so you can't stun him off the bat. On any turn and any turn end, if this character has immunity, apply safeguard to self and all accursed allies. When this character loses immunity, reduce the duration of safeguard on self and all accursed allies. Now, I have this down as an essential T4, and it is an essential T4 if you are planning to use the team as a 5-piece, or even if you're willing to put Quasar into the mix instead of Baron Mordo. Where I wouldn't T4 this ability is if you are planning to use the team with Mephisto. If you're planning to use the team with Mephisto, this is actually a big deficit to the team, because Mephisto will put the safeguard up, but because he doesn't apply immunity from his packs to the team, and as Juggernaut doesn't have immunity, he basically will reduce that safeguard that Mephisto has put out by 10 for himself and all his accursed allies. So that is one thing to really, really look out for. Next up, we have Baron Mordo. And his Arcane Scourge is his basic attack. It is going to attack the primary target for 220% damage and apply 1 to 2 random negative effects. The T4 on this one is going to add an additional 60% damage to the target and apply 2 random negative effects. Now, I have this down on the infographic as a T4 that you can skip. However, personally, what I have done, I have T4'd this ability just to make sure I'm getting those 2 random negative effects. The special is Mesmerize. This is an opening ability and has a 4-turn cooldown. 50% chance to stun the primary target. If stun is not applied, it will apply blind instead. 50% chance to apply blind to up to 4 additional random targets. If this character has 4 or more mystic allies, it is always going to apply blind for 2 turns to 4 additional random targets instead. It will apply slow to 2 random targets. This attack cannot be blocked. And the T4 on this is going to always apply stun to the primary target, which makes this a very high value T4. It is a controlling ability, and anytime you can guarantee controlling a character makes it a very high value pick. Demons of Danak. This is also an opening ability. This does have a 5-turn cooldown. Attack all enemies for 210% damage and apply heal block for 2 turns. This next line isn't really worth anything. On War Offense, if this character has 2 or more Dark Hunter allies, which is his old team that he was on, reduce the speed bar for all enemies that have blind by 30%. In Crucible, if this character has 3 or more Accursed allies, he's going to reduce the speed bar for all enemies by 30%. So this is a really nice turn rewind. This attack cannot miss, be blocked, or counterattacked. The T4 on this is going to add an additional 30% damage, so that makes you attack the enemy for 240% damage. It's going to apply defense up for 2 turns to self and all Mystic allies, which the whole team is Mystic. And in Crucible, it is going to apply 1 bleed for each Accursed ally up to a maximum of 4 to all enemies. So not only is this going to make you better, it's also going to cover the opponent in bleeds. And because of that, again, this is a very high value T4. Too many sorcerers. On death of any character, heal self and the most injured Mystic ally for 10% of this character's max health. That's really good. If the character that died was a Mystic character, heal self and the most injured Mystic ally for 15% of this character's max health instead. If the character that died was a Mystic character, generate 2 ability energy for self. So as they start killing off your team, he's going to be healing other members of your team and generating ability energy for himself. The T4 on this one, which is completely skippable. On death of any Mystic ally, generate 2 ability energy for the most injured Supernatural ally. Now, Supernatural was another team that Mordo has been on. This is the 3rd team that Mordo has been on. And they're no longer a team, really. Supernatural and Dark Hunters, they're no longer really a used team within the meta. Next up, we have the first of the new characters, Hellverine. This is Daken, who has made a pact with Mephisto and taken on the Spirit of Vengeance, so the Ghost Rider Monarch. Hellfire Claws is his basic. This is going to attack the primary target for 190% piercing, 75% chance to apply defense down to the primary target. If the target has exposed, 75% chance to apply defense down for 2 turns. This attack cannot be blocked. The T4 on this is a nice to have T4. It is plus 30% piercing damage, making that 220% piercing, and it will always apply the defense down to the primary target. Infernal Pursuit, this is his special, and you are not going to start with this one, but you will be able to do this one on turn 2. It's going to attack the primary target for 200% damage and apply defense down. It will then chain to 4 adjacent targets for 200% damage, applying defense down. So lots of defense down going out there. Counterattack will break this chain. If any target has exposed, instead attack all enemies for 200% piercing and apply defense down for 2 turns. This attack cannot be blocked. And the T4 on this one is going to add an additional 50% damage to the primary and secondary target. And if any target has exposed, it's going to attack the primary target for 10% of that target's max health. Again, this is a very nice to have T4. Demon Fire, which is Hellverine's ultimate. This is an ability that you can open with and most likely will open with. And this generally will be the turning point in the match for you. He's going to attack all enemies for 250% piercing and apply defense down. If any target has exposed, which they will do, attack a random target with exposed for 10% of that target's max health, deal an additional 100% damage, and apply defense down and trauma. In Crucible, if this character has 3 or more Accursed allies, apply ability block to all enemies. In Crucible, apply disrupted and offense down to all hero enemies. And in Crucible, he is going to reduce the speed bar for all mutant villain enemies by 30%. Enemies killed by this attack cannot be revived, and this attack cannot be dodged, blocked, or counterattacked. The T4 on this one, which I have got down as an essential T4, is going to add 50% piercing to all enemies. So that brings your attacking the all enemies to 300% piercing. Plus 300% piercing to all enemies if any target has exposed. So that is 300% plus 300% piercing. That's a lot of damage. Flip one positive effect to a negative effect on all enemies. And if any target has exposed, flip all positive effects to negative effects instead. So not only is this doing insane amounts of damage, it is also covering your opponent in negative effects. Hell Reborn is his passive, and on spawn and any turn, if no enemy has exposed, apply exposed to the most injured enemy. This is why I said someone is always going to have exposed while Hellverine is on the pitch. On any turn, if an enemy minion has exposed, attack that target for 500% piercing. This attack cannot be dodged or blocked. On turn, if two or more enemies are exposed, remove exposed from all enemies and heal self for 25% of this character's max health. In Crucible, while any enemy has exposed, this character cannot have their speed bar reduced. And the T4 on this, which is absolutely essential, is in Crucible, if this character has 3 or more accursed allies, enemy characters cannot gain defense up, and most importantly, death proof. The Hood Parker Robbins is our next victim, and his basic is Hellish Munitions. This is going to attack the primary target for 35% piercing, with a bonus attack 5 times for more 35% piercing. And in Crucible, this attack cannot be blocked. The T4 on this I've got down as a nice to have. This is adding an additional 15% piercing to every single attack. So that is 50% piercing 6 times, which is effectively 300% piercing damage. Ballistic Rain, this is his special. This is available on turn 1 and has a 7-turn cooldown. This is going to attack the primary target for 220% damage and apply ability block. It will also attack all adjacent targets for 170% damage. In Crucible, this attack cannot be blocked or dodged. The T4 on this one I have down as a nice to have, because this is going to do an additional 30% damage to the primary and secondary targets. And if the primary target does not have ability block, bonus attack the primary target for another 250% damage. Bullet Time, which is not a turn 1 ability. This will be available on turn 2. And this is a huge cooldown. So the Hood is a character where you are going to be using his 2 abilities, and then you're going to be relying on his basic for a lot of the time. Attack the primary and adjacent targets for 180% damage and flip 1 positive effect into a negative effect. If a target does not have any positive effects, apply trauma to that target. This attack deals an additional 180% damage to any target with safeguard. You'll then repeat this attack once. Characters killed by this attack cannot be revived. And in Crucible, this attack cannot be blocked. The T4 on this, I've got down as very high value. Plus 20% damage to the primary and secondary targets. And it is going to repeat this attack 2 times. So that is quite good. And his passive, Demonic Thief. This is what he is there for. On successful attack by this character or an accursed ally, apply bleed to each attacked target. In Crucible, enemies can only gain bonus damage and focus through positive effects. And hero enemies can only gain bonus resistance and speed through positive effects. In Crucible, if this character has 3 or more accursed allies, enemies cannot gain speed up, hero enemies cannot gain taunt, enemies cannot assist, enemies cannot fill speed bar for themselves or allies. This does not apply to speed bar gained through normal means. And the speed of this character and each ally can only be reduced by slow. The T4 on this one I have as an essential T4. On successful attack by this character or an accursed ally, apply heal block to each targeted character. In Crucible, if this character has 3 or more accursed, enemies cannot gain charged. So that stops Odin or offense up. That is absolutely huge. This passive is the whole reason that you need to take Hood into the battle. Last, but by no means least, we have Satana. And her basic Burning Touch is going to attack the primary target for 140% piercing. It's going to steal 10% health from the primary target and redistribute 150% of the health stolen to self and all accursed allies. And this will bypass heal block. So this is a heal that will happen even if heal block is on your characters. This attack will ignore passives that trigger when a character drops below a certain health. So she doesn't care about Thanos Endgame or anything like that. This attack redistributes a maximum of 25% of this character's max health. The T4 on this is going to add an additional 20% piercing. So that is 160% piercing. But the big thing here is in Crucible, if this character's health is above 50%, it's going to reduce the duration of all negative effects on self and accursed allies by 1. And this is a very high value T4 for Satana. Soul Drain, which is her special, is not available on turn 1, but will be available from turn 2 onwards. This is going to steal 5% health from all enemies and redistribute 150% of the health stolen to self and all accursed allies. So this is another heal. This also bypasses heal block. So you can try to stop the healing on this team, but it will just keep coming. Repeat this attack once. So that is again. This attack ignores passives that trigger when a character drops below a certain health. So we love to see that because that gets around the Thanos endgames. Each attack redistributes a maximum of 25% of this character's max health. Characters killed by this attack cannot be revived. Are we seeing a bit of a theme here? Clear all battlefield effects on the allied side. So if your opponents have managed to get a battlefield effect on your side, so something like Odin's battlefield effect, for example, that will clear that battlefield effect. And this attack cannot be blocked. The T4 on this, which I have down again as a high value T4, is to steal an extra 5% health. So that would be 10% health from all enemies and redistributing. In Crucible, if this character has 2 or more accursed allies, repeat this attack 2 additional times instead. So you get 3 attacks basically out of this rather than the 2 that you get for having it not T4'd. So again, this is a very high value T4 for Satana. Devour Essence, this is her ultimate and this is available on turn 1. Steal 6% health from the primary target and redistribute 300% of the health stolen to self and all accursed allies. This bypasses heal block. Flip 1 positive effect into a negative effect on the primary target. If the primary target does not have any positive effects, she will then apply trauma. Repeat this attack 1 additional time, plus 1 additional time for each accursed ally. So that effectively is going to do 6 attacks right off the bat. This can repeat up to a maximum of 3 times. Sorry, so that is 4 attacks. This attack ignores passives that trigger when a character drops below a certain health and will redistribute a maximum of 25% of this character's max health. Flips all vulnerables to defense up for self and all villain allies. Flip all negative effects to evade for self and all accursed allies. And if this character's health is above 50%, it is going to apply immunity for 2 turns to self and all accursed allies. It will also clear all battlefield effects on the allied side, and this attack cannot be dodged. The T4 on this one, which again is another high value T4, is going to steal 5% extra health. So that will mean an 11% health steal, which you're going to do a number of times. So that's going to get you quite a lot. And in Crucible, if this character has 3 or more accursed allies, repeat this attack 1 additional time. And her passive, which is the thing that we all have come for, is Devil's Daughter. In Crucible, until this character completes a turn, this character and all accursed allies cannot gain slow, ability block, defense down, and trauma. This character and all accursed allies cannot have their speed bar reduced. So not only is Hood helping with the whole speed manipulation, so is Satana. On enemy death, steal 5% health from the enemy with the highest health and redistribute 150% health stolen to the most injured ally. In Crucible, steal an additional 5% health per accursed ally, up to a maximum of 20%, and fill speed bar by 5% for self and all allies. This attack will bypass heal block. This attack ignores passives that trigger when a character drops below a certain health, and this attack will redistribute a maximum of 25% of this character's max health. In Crucible, all characters, friend or foe, cannot gain barrier. That kind of puts Fortifier off the table as a ISO 8 choice. Cannot gain regeneration. Kind of takes healer off the table as well, but not as badly. If this character or any accursed ally does not have defense up or minor defense up, this character gains 25% damage reduction and 25% resistance. Now, I've put this down as an essential T4 because this is all part of the longevity, the sustain that this team has. And so now the bit that you have all been waiting for, this is the infographic for the Accursed. This is available on the Jetson Squad Discord, and I will put it in the YouTube community tab. I've been not using that as often recently, but I really should do. So we have Juggernaut. Now, with the Satana passive and the Striker, it really only leaves a couple of ISO 8 classes that make any sense for Juggernaut. One of them would be Skirmisher, one of them would be Raider, and because he's got this big attack here that attacks all enemies, Raider kind of makes sense. Satana is at home when she is a Striker. All of those attacks, especially her basic coming in with that heal, is absolutely clutch. Mordo, I've got down as a Striker also. Being able to apply those negative effects from his basic is going to be pretty good, and he doesn't really have another class that you really want to be putting on him. Originally, I did think Skirmisher, but I think Striker is the play where Mordo is concerned. The Hood and Hellverine are both naturally going to be Raiders. They have massive amounts of AoE, and that really does lead to you putting them as Raider. Now, I do recommend to build all of these characters to at least level 105 and G19. However, myself personally, I will be taking Hellverine and Satana to gear tier 20 for the Professor X saga. This is something that good friend of the channel, Dinman, has tested. And so they will be going to the Cosmic Villain section for my for Professor X. And that's the Accursed, a team forged in darkness but built dominant. If you've got the stars, they've got the power to make Crucible hell for anyone who underestimates them. If this guide helped you out, drop a like, sub for more Marvel Strike Force content, and join the Jetson Squad Discord. Link is in the description down below, where you can connect with me, check out the infographics, and if you're a lost soul, find your next alliance. Until next time, stay sinister.